Welcome everyone to my YouTube channel. This is my first video. First, just want to mention that this is purely for education purposes. And the first video we're going to go through is a simulated phishing attack. So I'll set that up, and without wasting any time, I'll start the lab. Thanks, guys. So I've got my lab set up from Active Directory, Active Directory from Ludus. I'll just bring up that website. So pretty much most of my labbing will be based on this setup here, which I set up on my home lab in a Proxmox environment, and I've got it up here. And this is all the machines that I've got in the lab. So you've got the Debian and a few domain controllers, servers over here. So for this simulated attack, I've pretty much set up this machine here as the mail server, and I set up postfix and 𝐸𝐸𝐸 on this machine. So I've actually got an SSH session to this machine from my 𝐜𝐤𝐤, so I'll jump onto that so that I can demonstrate that. So I'll SSH to that machine. So this is the machine here, 254, and if you look at the, just to confirm that, you can see the machine here is 10.2.10.254. So I'll log on to that. And so I'll do system. So you can see there's postfix running there, which I set up. If anyone wants interested to know how I set this up, I can probably do another video, but this will be out of scope for this video. So also 𝐸𝐸𝐸. You can see that is also running. And from my 𝐜𝐤𝐤 machine, if I do an nmap to that box, which is 10.254, we'll see both port 143 and port 25 open on that machine. It'll just take a bit to open up. Another few seconds. And while that is opening up, I might as well show you the etc host file. And I've added that, I've given the name mail.north.7kingdoms.local as and added it to the etc as that, because we'll be pointing to this rather than the IP address. All right, so you can see from the output, we've got port 143 open, and we've also got port 25 open to that machine. So I'll clear that. I'll close this as well. All right, so I'm gonna open an RDP session rather than work inside Proxmox. I'll open an RDP session to that machine. So I'll use that, and that is the machine of our client machine where we are sending the phishing attack, which will simulate a user working on his machine. This is the user who's logged on, and this is the password here. So this is just an RDP session to that machine. And that is the machine there. So and I set up Thunderbird to simulate this particular phishing attack. So I'll just demonstrate how we can send an email to the client using either SWAX or SendMail. So I'll go to my folder. I've got some test documents there, 254.doc. So we can use SWAX, and this is the command. You put the email you're sending to, from, point through the server which you've added on the etc host, the subject, the body, and then the attachment. So if I do this, you'll see that the email will come straight away through on this other side on the client. And there you go. That's the email there. So another alternative is to use SendMail, which I find it easier than SWAX, because at least with SendMail you can know whether the email has gone through or not. SWAX, there's no logs or anything. So if I clear this, that is the command there you've got. It's quite straightforward. Don't need to explain much here. And if I do that again, you should see that the email straight away comes through on this end. So now it's time to set up our phishing attack. And for that, we're going to set up a macro on our office. So I'll use my host machine to set up this. So I'll just open up my Word on my host machine. Just opening up. So that's my host machine will create a blank document. I'll put this text here. So this is pretty much something that you can send as part of this that will sort of look like a phishing email. Make it looking, just try and word it to look like a phishing. So secure document viewing instructions, because the macro might come up with the enable contact to enable macro. You put the instructions in the document saying that when prompted, please click on enable. So this is basically trying to entice the user to click on the document even when the enable macro comes up. So we'll do that. And to actually put in the macro, you put I'll just put 1 minute. I'll just start this again. Let's give me a bit of issues here. Don't save. So if I open a blank Word document again, so we'll go new document, blank document. We'll put the information that I had. Let's see what yep, that's it. And then we'll go shift F11. or we'll go here, macros. So normally when you do that command option function F11, it would come up with this small window here. But if you don't get that, then you can go to view project explorer. So if you click on this document here, this is where we can put in the macro. And just for our testing purposes, we're going to put a simple ping macro, and I'll explain why. So this is the ping macro that we'll put in here. So basically, which says that this is the IP, and when the macro runs, then it's supposed to ping this IP, which this is our host machine, our Kali machine. So the reason we're doing a ping is just for example, you want to send a macro you want to send a phishing attack to someone and you're not sure whether they've got antivirus running or anything. So you'll probably first test it with a ping, and just to see whether you get any callback on your machine from using Wireshark, and that way you can know, okay, this attack works, and then after that you can follow up with another that contains your reverse shell, your exploit. So I'll save that. I'll save this document. So I'll close. I'll save that, and I'll probably give it a name, maybe employee, or we'll give it name HR. Just call it HR, and then we need to save it as a Word macro enabled document. So we'll save it as that. We'll save it as on the desktop. Called HR Word. All right, and just close this. Close that, and just looking for the document in desktop. Yep, so we've got it here. So we'll copy this particular document to our Kali machine. So I've done a control copy, so I'll close this here. And if I go to my host machine using Tuna, I'll dump the file here, which is called HR. That's the document there. So close that. And if I do this, you can see the file is here. So now the thing is to send this file to the user and try and get him to click. So we'll simulate that from both sides. So again, I'm going to use send email. I've already demonstrated that. So I'll do send email, yep. And I actually crafted a new, I'll put one with a bigger body that demonstrates. So put this here. The only difference here is the body that I've changed, which now includes this body here. This is the only thing that has changed here, but everything else is the same. And then I'll just call this HR.doc, which is a document that we're sending through. And so that's me sending it to that particular user, which is john.snow, and we'll watch on this side. If I do that, it's sent successfully and the email has come through. So you can see this is the user. Now we are simulating the user receives this email saying company policy manual. Please find the attached the manual. Should you have any questions, please let us know. And it's attached the HR document here. So on our end as well, because we are sending a ping macro from that machine, we'll create we'll do a TCP dump just to monitor any incoming traffic, any incoming ICMP from any, like from using Wireshark. So I'll use sudo TCP dump. So we're monitoring this for any ICMP traffic. So I'll open this document, simulating the user open with Word document. So it'll open there. Close this. All right, so he'll receive this document and read it, and then it says, oh, enable the contact when prompted, because it, and then he'll have a look and see, oh, there's a pop-up that says enable contact. So when he clicks on this, it'll run the macro, but he's unaware of this. So when he does that, you see straight away we get the ICMP here, which means that the macro has run successfully. So now we're confident that this works. So what we can do is now create an exploit to get a reverse shell from this machine, which means now creating another macro. All right, cool. So to demonstrate that, I'll clear this. Minimize this. So for this, we're going to use a PowerShell code runner to actually the macro. I'll start up with a macro and then I'll explain through. So we'll create another document. So we'll create another blank document. So put in the same text that we had. So open up the section of the macro. We'll close the other file. And then we'll go here. And this is the macro that we'll put in here, and I'll explain. So this is a simple macro. What it's going to do, it's going to use PowerShell to download this file and run it in memory. So we're going to serve this file from our 𝐥𝐤𝐤 machine. This is our 𝐥𝐤𝐤 machine here. It'll upload this and then run it in memory. So that means it's not going to touch disk. It's going to run in memory, which will also help avoid antivirus. So we'll save that. Probably give it another name. Let's call it HR2. And then again, Word enable macro document. So save that as HR2. And close that. Then close that. Again, we're gonna copy this to your 𝐥𝐤𝐤 machine. Copy it from the host. That's a file there, hr2.com, and close that. And that's the file there, hr. So the plan is to send this, and before we send this, we're going to prepare the run.txt, which contains our PowerShell code runner. So for that, I'll open up another screen. I'll close this. Because I want to do everything in the same window, I'll just create this. Oh, just trying to make my screen bigger. Okay, so just trying to make my screen bigger. So for this, I'll just split the screen as well. Not that, split it horizontally, close. And I'll also split this one so that we have many, so I'll close this. All right, so that particular run.txt is in here. So I'll copy it to run.txt, copy it to so this is the file here which contains our PowerShell code runner. So I'll open that in a different window so that we can see the so that's the file here. It's got our code, PowerShell code runner. We'll not go into the details for this, but the important thing that I'll want to show is the shell code. And this is where we're going to put in the shell code. And we're creating the shell code using MS Venom. And we'll put it here. And it's going to be for Metapreter shell. So we'll create a MS Venom. So do this. It's going to be a PowerShell. So I'll just go scroll down to one that's got a PowerShell. Yeah, so that's the one. PowerShell. We're going to use port 80. And so the reason I'm using port 80 is sometimes you'll find that most of the ports are blocked for particular reasons. And probably the one that you can use is 443 or 80. But sometimes you might find that 443 is also blocked. So I'll show it using port 80. And I'll explain also something about a sleep timer that I've added onto this. So I'll put my IP address for my Kali. And so this is because the word is running on 32-bit. I'm going to use a 32-bit exploit. So otherwise, if it was 64, then I'd be putting x64 here, but because it's 32-bit, then I'll just leave it here. So create the shell. Takes a few seconds. So that is the shell code. So I'll copy this, all this, and then I'll put it in my code here. So Control K, I'll paste that here. So that's the shell code runner. So just again to explain something about using port 80. So sometimes you might find that you have to use port 80, and when you're serving this run.txt, you'll also be serving it on port 80. So for that, I've included this sleep timer. And the reason I've included this, which means that when the user clicks on that macro, it will upload this file on port 80, which I'm serving it from my Kali. And because we also want to get the reverse shell on port 80, I've put a 60-second timer so that it'll allow me to, once I see that the file is uploaded, I can set up Metasploit to listen on port 80. So it allows me to serve and use and listen on port 80 at the same time. So I'll save that. That's saved. So we've got, again, that is the run.txt. And if you remember, the run.txt is what we've actually put on the macro in this hr2 document, right? So it's gonna upload this. So we have to serve this run.txt, and then we also have to create a Metasploit on port 80. So I'm gonna create a Metasploit listener. Just a minute. All right, so this is just, I'll explain again. So this is a quick one-liner to set up the Metasploit using Metapreter here, multi-handler. We're using on port 80, and we are listening on this here. I could put up IP address, or I could just put the interface. So this is, so I'll run this. All right, so that means now we started the reverse shell, it's listening on this. But again, because we need to serve on port 80, for example, if I try and serve on 80, it'll come up with an error saying that it's currently using because of this particular here. So I'll clear this. So to stop, I'll stop this listening. So I'll go to jobs. I'll see that it's using jobs 0. So I'll go jobs -k 0. Oh, sorry, jobs -k 0. So it stopped that. So again, if I try and do that serve here, you can see now that it's serving. So I'll clear that. So basically now we're serving this particular file run.txt. So serve. So this is now serving this file on this IP address. And now we're going to send that phishing email. So how are we going to use send email? So that's the same email. And again, now we're going to use hr2.doc, which is the one that contains our shellcode runner. So now this is where we have to watch carefully. So the steps are, I'm going to send the phishing email. The user will open it up. It'll upload this file, which has a PowerShell code runner. It'll give me 60 seconds to stop this and start the listener on port 80. And then we wait for the reverse shell. And we hopefully should get a reverse shell to that machine. All right, so I'll send the email here. Send successfully. The email comes through to the user. The user reads company policy, opens the document hr2.doc. Hopefully it works. If it doesn't work, we'll try and troubleshoot. So open that. Enable content. Yep, you see that it's picked up this file. So now we've got 60 seconds, so we'll stop it. We will start this job, exploit -j -z. That is to start the listener. Because we've got 60 seconds, which I put in the shellcode runner. So now it's now listening on port 80. So if everything goes well, we give it around 50 to 60 seconds and we should get a shell. Just watch Let's see. And at that time, the user is oblivious of what is happening in the background. He's just read the email and he'll probably just close it and say, okay, let me go about my business. So I'll just close that. I'm hoping we'll get a shell, and not that closing that might affect this, but we'll try again if that doesn't work. Give it a few more seconds. Is it probably because I closed that document? Probably. Just give it a few seconds and then I'll repeat the same thing. Okay, nothing is happening. We'll just stop this again and just give it a try without closing that document. Before that, I'll just confirm that the msvenom command I put in is correct. Msvenom interpreter reverse 500 to port. Yep, that looks okay. All right, I'll just stop this. All right, so we'll save that file again. Save 80. I'll send a new email again. Watch here. And this time we're not going to close the Word document. We'll just keep it open for at least 60 seconds until we get a reverse shell. So a new email, send that. Got it through, come out. So open that. Open the attachment. Enable content again. Picks up the rand.txt, so that's all good. So we've got 60 seconds again. So I'll stop this. Exploit -j-z 80 exploit. Okay, now we wait and see whether we'll get that in around 60 seconds. If we were using different ports for the listener and for serving the file, then we would not have to set up the sleep timer on the PowerShell runner. The only reason we're doing this is because we're using the same port. 198.51.100.2. Yeah, that is correct. Fingers crossed. Should be getting anything now. Something. Nothing coming up. Oh. I'll just pause the video and just go through the PowerShell code runner just to make sure we've got everything right. All right, I think I found what the issue was. So if you look at my MS Venom, I've got the local host set as 192.51.100.2, but our IP is actually 198.51.100.2. So something simple like that can actually cause issues. So I'll create another MS Venom and fix that. I think I'm used to typing 192. So my keyboard has issues. So I'll set that as 198. Create the MS Venom again, the shell. All right, copy that. I'll put it on my shell code runner. Paste it there. Yep, so it's there again. So I'm going to repeat the same process again, and let's see how it goes. So I'll stop this jobs. I'll stop that. I'll clear these. I'll save the file again. I will send the email. I will close this. I will send the email again. Yep, email comes through. John opens the email. He'll see the attachment here. He'll open the attachment. Open. Get the message. Read the email. Click on enable content. We get the file uploaded here. So we stop that. And we start the listener again. Exploit -J-Z. And now hopefully after around 60 seconds, we should get a shell. All right, so it's now listening on this, waiting for a callback from that machine. Hopefully this time it works. Oh, there you go. So you got your session there. It's connected. And if we go to this, we'll click sessions. We can see it's connected to this machine. Basically, this user doesn't know that I'm connected to him and that I've already exploited his machine. So we'll go to sessions 1. So basically, I'm in his machine. We'll try and get system, which makes me admin. So it's system. Actually, before that, I'm going to migrate to a more stable process, which is now like Notepad. So I'll go to execute -H -F Notepad. I think it's -H. and then I migrate to 4300. And then I try and get system. All right, I can't get system. We'll have to private skin a different way. But anyway, I've got shell. So if I go to shell, basically I'm in that machine. So if I go, to desktop, cd, if I go to, let's go to PowerShell. So if I go that's so if I go to john.snow, I'm pretty much in that machine. So if I go to cd desktop, this is pretty much the desktop of what. So if you look at the desktop, if I close this, you can see this is what we've got in the desktop: Thunderbird, Link, Microsoft Office. So that's pretty much means I've got this machine compromised. And if you want to enumerate, you can probably use something like what do you call it, like Mimikatz to enumerate further. So that's pretty much it, just to show you how phishing attack can be done, how simple it is. Again, this is purely for educational purposes. And again, I'm going to put my contact details at the bottom of this video. Feel free to reach out to me on Discord or my email. And yeah, I'll try and keep posting more videos for educational purposes and hopefully get better. It's not an easy way to start. Sorry, it's not easy to start, but I think I have to start somewhere. But thanks, and hope you enjoyed this video.